Hey guys, welcome into the Week 0 edition of the Shelby County High School Football Week in Review. My name is Alec Etheridge, and it's been 270 days since we last had AHSAA high school football in the county. And that's when the Briarwood Lions made a run all the way to the 5A state semifinals before falling to Winona to end the 2016 season. But now, after all that waiting, we're a mere 72 hours away from the 2017 season kicking off, as the Pelham Panthers and Homewood Patriots will take to the field this Thursday night over at Samford University at 7 p.m. So the season's just around the corner. It's going to be a fun run. I hope you guys are ready for a fantastic year, because I feel like this could be one of the best football seasons that Shelby County has seen in a long time. Before we get into this first week's matchups, just a couple of quick tidbits. This Wednesday in the Shelby County Reporter, you'll find our 2017 Shelby County Football Magazine, and that'll be the county's overall cover. Then on Friday at the home games, we'll be giving out those, as well as the special edition covers, which I'll give you a sneak peek of on Wednesday night probably, so you know what to expect and can go out and pick those up. So be on the lookout for that. While this Friday marks the first week of the AHSAA season, this past Friday we actually had 5 games in the AISA and ACSC level, so we'll kind of dive into those here in just a minute. That'll be the first thing we look at before we dive into the Week 1 matchups, where we'll take a look at our first game of the week and then go through each of the games that you'll be able to see this first Friday night, as well as Pelham and Homewood on Thursday. So let's get started, and we'll take a look back at the AISA this first week, this past Friday night. So the crazy thing about this past Friday's 5 games is that it actually marked the coaching debut for 5 new head coaches, as both ACSC schools and all 3 AISA schools hired new coaches in the offseason. We'll start down in the ACSC, as both Evangel and Hope made strong statements to start the season. Evangel, we'll look at them first. They get Tim Smith over from Cornerstone, where he spent the last 17 seasons, and he made a strong debut. Came over from AISA school into the 8-man ACSC league, but he actually takes on Evangel Montgomery and AISA school in that first game, and that experience obviously paid off. They won 30-16. Actually led 24-0 early in the second half, but Evangel Montgomery was able to put up 16 unanswered points before Camden Smith ran in a late touchdown to seal the victory at 30-16. So it was an impressive debut for Tim Smith, who has always gotten his guys ready. They look good. They're going to be a team to reckon with, as they always are in the ACSC. Hope also made a statement under Matt Davis. He was actually the team doctor a year ago. He's taken over as the head coach after Tony Nafe unfortunately passed away from cancer this offseason, which was a sad day. But Nafe was obviously there in spirit as the Eagles soared to an 88-72 win in Davis's debut, partially due to Jackson Davis's 6 touchdowns in the game, and what a performance that was. They win 88-72. They're going to be a team that can challenge Evangel and other schools in the ACSC schools simply because of that offensive ability that they have. Moving up to the AISA, we had 3 games there. We'll start with our third and last victory of the week, which came by way of Cornerstone. James Lee made his coaching debut, and what a debut it was. They led throughout, end up picking up a 45-20 win on the road at Sparta Academy in Evergreen, which was close to a 5-hour bus ride for them. So an impressive win for James Lee. They're going to be a strong team, as they always are in the AISA. We'll move up to Coosa Valley. That's where I was this past Friday night. They took on Hooper Academy and actually got off to a strong start in their debut this season. They jumped up 6-0 early on after driving the opening kickoff all the way down the field. Defense played really strong the remainder of the half. Offense kind of slowed down a little bit, though. They were able to take a 6-0 advantage into the half before giving up 28 unanswered points in the second half, as their offense was unable to move the ball anymore, and the defense was obviously gassed. So not the exact debut that head coach Dane Reese wanted, but there were some very promising things that I saw, and I like what he's doing out there at Coosa Valley. So they should improve this season and look better as the season moves along, and should have just a fine go of things this year. Also, we had Kingwood taking on Pike. They traveled down to Troy to take on Pike, and it wasn't the debut that Todd Bradford wanted as his team fell 47-8. But like Coosa Valley, they should improve as the season moves on, and I'm not too worried about them after game 1. There's always those first game jitters. So this last week was a lot of fun, but now we really get into the thick of things. So let's go ahead and dive in and look at what we have coming up in week 1 of high school football in Shelby County, and we'll start with our first game of the week. That's right, so our first game of the week for the 2017 season to start things off is going to be Chelsea hosting Oak Mountain over at Chelsea High School this Friday night at 7 p.m. It's actually a rematch of a game that Chelsea won 49-33 at 7A Oak Mountain last year. That's right, they put up 49 points on that team, and Coach Bell's a guy that likes to get his defense playing better. I've talked to him about that in the offseason, and he says the defense is a key. He knows they've got to play better, not just in their 7A Region 3 games, but he's got to get that defense playing better in Week 1 against Chelsea. He told me the guys have got a lot of purpose going into the season, a lot more than he felt like they had last year. So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of handle that transition defensively. But over on the other side, Chelsea's got some big-time playmakers to replace offensively, which should help out Oak Mountain's defense, as both Zaylon Reynolds and Matt Marquette are gone. And they were close to 90% of the offensive production last year. That's going to be a big number to replace, and it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of handle that transition. I think that their offense is going to be fine moving forward throughout the season. Coach Elmore's gotten all of his teams to average 30-plus points a game each season since he's been there, so I don't expect that to be any different this year, but it could be a struggle starting in Game 1. They'll have to get some chemistry right and all that kind of stuff, so we'll see how it works out for them, getting a lot of new playmakers in there on both sides of the ball, whereas Oak Mountain has the advantage and has a lot of upperclassmen coming back, a lot of veteran players. It'll be a good game. I expect a lot of action in the way of offense, but I also expect a strong defensive performance, especially from Oak Mountain. It'll be interesting to see how things go. I think it's going to come down to the wire, but you couldn't ask for a better. The only in-county matchup we have this week, you couldn't ask for a better matchup to start off the 2017 season, and that's why Chelsea and Oak Mountain this Friday night is going to be our game of the week. So another exciting game to watch this week is going to be Thompson playing host to Hapeville, Georgia. You know, Thompson's had more hype around them than anybody this offseason with the transfer to Talia Tagovailoa from Hawaii. He seems to be that one key puzzle piece missing on the offensive side of the ball that they didn't have last year. And they get so many playmakers are back around him, including their top 3 receivers, a transfer in Ahmad Edwards, who's a second-team All-State guy 2 years ago, and both starting running backs to pair up with a defense that only gave up 9 points per game a year ago and gets a lot of those playmakers back as well. Hapeville, though, not a team to take lightly. They made it to the Class 2A semifinals in Georgia last year and should give Thompson a challenge. But Hapeville's offense struggled at times a season ago. While they bring back a lot of guys on that side of the ball, they only scored 28 points per game, which is relatively low at the high school level. And so I really fully expect Thompson's defense to step up and play well in this game and really keep them in it. And early in the game while the offense is transitioning into it, I should say. And that offense is going to take shape easily, if not really early in the game in the first quarter, moving into the second half. And I see Thompson really handling this one running away. But like I said, it's a good tough test for them to start the season, especially with all the hype. It's a good way for them to kind of get some confidence beating a team from another state that actually made it close to the state championship. So Thompson, hype surrounding them. This should be fun to watch and see if they can live up to that hype in Game 1. As mentioned earlier, Pelham will be taking on Homewood this Thursday night over at Samford University, and it'll be a home game for Pelham, even though it is just across the street from Homewood High School. And this was actually close to being our game of the week this week, not just simply because it's the first game of the 2017 season, but because I feel like whoever wins this game, it'll really propel them forward for the rest of the season. You know, both of these teams kind of struggled last year. Pelham finished 2-8, and while Homewood made the playoffs, they were 5-6, which was a down year for head coach Ben Bergeson. Both teams want to get that confidence booster right out of the gate, and it's a rematch of a game last year that Homewood won tightly, 21-14, that went down to the wire. Both of these schools have a lot coming back. Pelham's got 36 upperclassmen on the roster this year. Homewood's got a lot of offensive playmakers back, so that's going to be fun to watch. I feel like this could actually end up being the best game this week, so it's our game of the week number 2 in my opinion. So a common theme among these Week 1 matchups is that they're actually rematches from games that started last year's season openers, and that's exactly what we have with Spain Park and Gaston City. Last year, the Jaguars traveled up to Gaston City, picked up a 21-17 win. This year, they travel back to Spain Park. They're the home team on their home turf, and it's actually brand new turf that was just installed recently. So it'll be interesting to see how Spain Park handles that situation. They've got a lot of new tools on the defensive side of the ball, which has worried Coach Rainey in the offseason. But him being the defensive coach and a defensive-minded coach, he's a guy that's going to have them ready. He's had one of the best defenses in 7A the past few years, and so I'm not worried. probably as much as he's worried, especially when you have an offense that they have coming back this year that can pick up the slack. Braxton Barker back at quarterback, he's looking for a breakout senior season, and Diare Johnson, who was actually the leading rusher last year as the second string guy, is back as well. Also, they have some huge wideouts that are going to be big for Barker to throw to. The offensive line's retooling, but they should be okay there as well, thanks to some good-sized guys. Gaston City's a team that could compete for a state championship along with Spain Park. I fully expect this one to be a close matchup again. It could end up 24-17, 21-17, something in that range yet again. And it's a toss-up on who's going to come out on top, especially with Gaston City placing a bigger emphasis on defense this year. They're going to be a strong team. Spain Park's got a strong potential as well. So we'll see who can come out on top in this one. But it's another one that could be just like Pelham, Homewood, Chelsea, Oak Mountain, that could be really close and come down to the last possession. Another one of those week one rematches comes down in Calera as the Eagles play host to May Jemison. Last year they picked up a 25-6 win on the road at May Jemison. This year they get them at home, and I really feel like they could win this one more handily than they did last year. The 25-6 performance was very good, but this year they have a lot of key playmakers back on the offensive side of the ball, starting at quarterback with Cornelius Brown, who I feel like is not just going to be a great breakout player for the Eagles this year, but could it be one of the best offensive breakout players that we have in all of the state this year. He'll be joined by DeCorian Mickens in the backfield, who went into last season as the fourth-string running back, worked his way up, was part of a committee that ran for 700-plus yards with three different guys. Mickens was actually the leading of those rushers. He'll return an experience along with Brown that is going to help them out tremendously on the offensive side of the ball and give them a level of experience that they haven't had in a while at Calera, and really going to help Andrew Zhao have one of the best offenses I think he's ever had. Moving over to the defensive side of the ball, they've got some key guys in the secondary that should help, but it could take them some time to work into this game. They could give up a few more scores than they did last year, but I see Calera winning this one by a final of close to 35-14. Our last non-Jamboree AHSAA game this week is going to be Vincent hosting Pleasant Valley. It's a game that kind of surprised me last year as Pleasant Valley won 42-0 on their home field, but went on to finish the season 2-8. And these two teams are combined 3-37 over the last two seasons, showing that it's a pretty even matchup on paper as both look to kind of head in that right direction. And I still think that Coach McKellar is one of the best coaches in this state. What he's doing at Vincent's a great thing, trying to rebuild that program. And they have a lot of athletes back this year, and I feel like they should be more competitive in this game. But I'm going to have to see it on the field. It's something that you can't really predict for them to break through until you've seen it actually happen. I do expect them to be much more competitive in this game especially, and throughout the season, really. It was their only shutout last year as they went on to improve each week, which was a big improvement from the year before where they were almost shut out in every game. So I expect Vincent to put up a tough fight in this one. They may fall in the game overall, but they get a good confidence booster that they can compete as they move forward down the season. As I just mentioned, there are 3 Jamboree games this week, and while they don't mean anything to the actual schedule, it's a good way to kind of test and see what you've got moving forward into the actual season. We've got 3 of those games, starting with Helena and Ramsey. Ramsey, the defending 6A state champion, so it should give Coach Parker a good test for Helena to see what they have moving forward in 2017. Briarwood will be traveling to Vestavia, a tough 7A team that plays in one of the toughest regions in the state. Briarwood's considered to be a state championship favorite in 5A. They return a ton of talent on both sides of the ball. So it'll be interesting to see if they can kind of live up to that hype in this first Jamboree. I know Coach Yancey's going to try to get us guys just some experience and see what they can do. So just a good test for them to see what they're made of going forward in 2017 as well. And then our last one's going to be Shelby County and Childersburg, as Coach Childers is looking to get something going here at Shelby County. You know, they've improved each year under him. And last year just missed out on the playoffs by 1 game. This year they're looking to snap a long playoff drought, and it's a good test for them to take on a Childersburg team that should be much improved and very good this year as well. So we'll see what all 3 of those teams can kind of put on the field in a Jamboree atmosphere and kind of get a test for what their season's going to look like. I just want to thank you guys for tuning in to this Week 0 edition. Now that we actually have games kicking off this week, we're going to have so much more fun with this, and there's going to be so many different things I'm going to try to do to engage you guys. Just excited for the ride, And it's all going to start next week as we look back at the games that were played. And we'll not only name a game of the week for the following week, but we'll name our SCR Star of the Week. So I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on who that should be after Friday night. So let me know. But we're going to name our first Star of the Week, and that can be an entire unit. It can be a player individually or a team altogether. So we'll name that for the first time next week. So be on the lookout. Also be on the lookout for our Shelby County Football Magazine this Wednesday and at those first home games this Friday night. Thanks again, guys.